Hey y'all, welcome to our Insecure Season 5, Episode 7 recap and review. So while we wait for Samaria to join, I want you all to jot down in the comments and tell us out of all of Issa's exes, which one would you date? So let me go ahead and... So out of all of her exes, which one would you date? Is the question we want y'all to answer.
Hey, Alfred. Hey, you.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Samaria.
Okay. I'm going to try to put the question down here.
Oh, I was typing it right now.
Oh, are you? Okay.
You got on faster than I thought you would.
We're efficient over here.
Okay. Okay. All of her exes, which one would you date? And I'm curious to hear Samaria's answer, which I feel like I already know.
You don't know me. Who do you think I'm going to say? After you, I'm going to let you focus on posting the question.
Okay.
Hey, guys.
Okay.
I like this episode.
Yeah, me too. I feel like it had me on the edge of my seat.
Really?
Yeah, like certain points. Here, let me...
Okay, it's pinned now.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think my answer is while we wait?
I feel like your answer is going to be Lawrence.
Okay, that's an interesting feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like your answer would be Lawrence too.
It is.
Mine is definitely Lawrence, and I'll get into why, like, as we talk, because he was in this episode. So yeah, I'm really glad that everybody was in this week's episode.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, we can go ahead and jump in.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I put down was I low-key want to play questions in the hat. It's just that, like, now you have to come up with the questions to put in the hat, and I don't know that I would have good questions to add. That's the only, like, drawback.
Yeah, I feel like you'd have to mix it up. Some serious stuff, some funny stuff, but it's like it's the most simple game, questions in a hat.
I know, but Kelly was like, it's the game.
I know.
What I wanted to talk about first was actually Condola and Lawrence. How did you feel about their dynamic this episode?
I'm glad you want to start there because I feel like their dynamic is what had me on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Okay.
Yeah, something about when they're together, and I think it's because of how the last interaction went.
Mm-hmm.
It could go left at any moment, even though it seems to be trending in the right direction. But yeah, so I feel like I was smiling the whole time. Just their energy, I could appreciate the maturity there and how both of them seemed really interested in moving forward.
Okay.
And like addressing some things that happened in the past here and there. But I don't know, I just love that interaction of them parenting together and just trying to find some commonality, even though it's been a hot mess.
Okay. Yeah, I did write down. I was really proud of them because they've come a long way. So she let Eli, the baby, she let him spend the night with Lawrence, and like he's coming over. The one thing that I thought was funny was when Lawrence offered to build that shelf. I'm like, he ain't learned from last time. It's gonna be like the whole plumbing situation again. But
Yeah.
I liked that it seems like she's, given over some of the control, even like later on in the episode where she can't get the baby to eat the solids, which was a big argument the last time they were together. But he comes in and he has his strategy that just works.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the reason why I was on the edge of my seat is I just didn't know what direction this could go. Like, it's still kind of up in the air. Like, neither one of them have outright said, like, I'm only interested in parenting with you. Like, obviously they're not together. But I don't know. I just feel like it could go in either direction. So I was on the edge of my seat like, okay, Lawrence, what you gonna say next? Like you offering all this help now.
Got you. Okay, when you say on the edge of your seat, I thought you meant like a romantic connection. Like what's gonna happen there?
I mean, I think all of it, like I just didn't know what to expect just based off of their energy. Like he was being so helpful. She seemed to be guarded. And even I guess I think it was like the last scene that they had together, he was basically like apologizing. I'm like, okay, where is this going?
So that's why he's my choice for Issa's ex that I would date. I think Lawrence has shown a lot of growth from season one, but I also feel like he's someone who accepts like criticism or feedback that's been given to him. And it kind of makes me sad because I'm like, dang, in season one, maybe if Issa would have just like blatantly said, I need you to work because I'm tired of taking things on my own, it makes you think, would he have done different? So that's why he's my vote, because I think he's the most committed to like improving himself out of all her exes. I mean, Nathan's not an ex right now.
Yeah, I think the difference for me is that his situation with Condola, because the baby's here, and even both of them are like, oh yeah, it's different once the baby's here. I think that really forces your hand to mature. So Issa could have asked him, but there's nothing like having a living, breathing person looking at you and expecting certain things. And I just thought it was funny how she's like, yeah, things are so different. And it's like, yeah, girl, I think both of y'all have gotten that wake up call and your energy is completely flipped versus before the baby got here.
Yeah. I wanted to see why you thought or how you felt about Tiffany and Kelly choosing Daniel and why you wouldn't choose Daniel for Issa's exes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess off the physical, I mean, because I guess their point of view is like, oh, that's my friend's ex. So I guess out of all of them, I guess he was the best looking to them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I
He is a nice looking man.
Yeah, he is nice looking. So yeah, if that's like a high priority for him, and they haven't touched on much of Kelly's dating life, so I don't know like what her criteria are, and that's no shade to her.
What's the guy's name? What's his name? Quantrell.
Yeah. Yeah. Then, Tiffany is married, so she's just gonna say whatever. Obviously that's her point of view, but yeah, I wouldn't have picked Daniel just because I feel like that was sort of like a rebound Nathan type of situation as well, where it was hard for me to tell, like, was it genuine or was it just the timing? He just wasn't a person that I would have picked.
Francis said none. Issa is bad at choosing men, so I wouldn't date any of her men.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's talk about well, Nathan obviously called her inconsistent was it last week?
Mm-hmm.
Last week, yeah, it was. And so how did you feel about her friend's response? And do you think she exhibited inconsistent behavior in this episode?
Okay, so her friend's response was shady. It's like they know that this is a part of her personality, or I guess how she is, and they're like, basically they're trying to tell her like, yeah, girl, you know you're like that. Stop acting. Now, as far as her acting inconsistent in the episode, I'd say she seemed like from the episode where her and Nathan agreed, like, hey, we're going to try to make this work. She seemed to be consistent after that. And then the whole like not reciprocating the I love you seemed to like throw her off her game. And now she's like, well, I don't know. So in this episode, I do feel like she was being a bit inconsistent because it was like, well, because I didn't hear what I needed to hear from Nathan, maybe I should go back to Lawrence. And even some of the stuff that Kelly was saying, like, oh, keep your mind open, or, oh, you have to sometimes put yourself out there. She didn't say it in that exact way, but while Issa was drinking, that's how she took it.
Girl, because the second Kelly was like, oh, the exes are upon us. We need to just like give in. You saw Issa's face, and then the next thing she does is call Lawrence. I'm like, girl.
So yeah, To me, that's inconsistent. Like,
Yeah.
now you're just going back and forth depending on what's going on. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Exactly. No, I do think it showed that she was being inconsistent. But that's besides the whole crying in the mouth thing. I think that was the only time that she has been inconsistent with him.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Okay, yeah, I don't think their response was shady. I think they thought she knew that about herself. Yeah. Like, girl, you know you're inconsistent. Come on, stop playing. But yeah, I do think like she felt insecure with everything that was going on with Nathan, and so maybe that was just the next thing, or maybe that's just something she really wanted to do but would not have done if Nathan was steady. You know, because you did see at the end when Lawrence called, she let him go to voicemail. So maybe now that things are good, she's not feeling insecure in her relationship with Nathan, and I don't know, maybe she's back on track.
So, I guess, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead of your notes, but I guess later on in the episode where she was expressing how she felt like she didn't have closure or she felt bad about the way that things ended. And
Yeah.
this is also where I feel like you're being inconsistent because it's like, okay, girl, a whole year has gone by, like including the pregnancy and everything. The baby's here. Um, he picked you up from the airport. You basically say, hey, I don't want to move forward. So I'm not really understanding what's the confusion and what is there to really talk about. It
Yeah.
just seems as if she's not really fully moved on emotionally.
Yeah, what do you need closure for at this point? Like you are the one who ended things and you know you made a decision. I think she made the right decision. But you made the right decision and now you're walking back. But I'm not even going to like front. I think that's totally normal. Like a lot of us have made good decisions and then been like, but did I make a good decision? You know, and you always, well, you don't always, but I think it's a maturity thing. Like she has to just kind of stand 10 toes down now with the decision that she made, and she's having difficulty with that. And I don't know why.
So, what do you think about Tiffany's response? Like, it seemed like Molly and what's her name? Molly and Kelly were on the same energy, like, hey, you made the right decision, the best decision. And Tiffany is like, no, it just has to be right for you, or it just has to make sense for you. What do you think about her taking that angle?
Yeah, somebody actually put had like a screenshot of what she said, and I took it today because I thought it was interesting. I like it in theory. In this particular situation, I don't think it's the best advice in life in general. I do think so. She said the smart choice doesn't have to be the right choice as long as it makes sense for you. And as a person who always wants to make the smart choice, I can't rock with it for my life. But I do understand that there are situations where it's like nobody else is gonna understand why you're moving that way. I actually just thought about a real life situation, but to protect the innocent, I can't say it on here. But yeah, so I think there are a lot of instances where you know the smart choice just might not be the right choice for you, and you have to make that decision. But as far as Issa and Lawrence go, I think it was the best choice. It was the smart choice. It was the right choice. And in the long run, I think it'll be the best choice.
Yeah, and I think the route that she took, I think, kind of puts her in the best position and protects her. So, like, yeah, she could have tried to make it work, even if it was like a minimal drama. I
Mhm.
think she would have still been thinking, like, why am I getting myself intertwined in this?
Yeah.
So, this is probably taking her a longer time to get over because there's still that what if, but it's the what if minus all the drama of being like a step parent in an already rocky situation.
But okay, how would you feel about her and Lawrence figuring things out now, now that he and Condola are successfully co-parenting and things aren't messy over there? So how do you feel about it now?
I would not think that that's the best choice. I, I mean, to me, like the first year or two,
Mhm.
and this is just like in my own real life situations that I've observed when babies are still fresh, like, and it's a very hands-on time period. So it's not like the child is 7 where you're just like dropping them off, picking them up. You know, when they're still so small, there's a lot of interactions that need to happen, being on the same page. So yeah, for me, I'd say if there's a fresh baby in any situation, it's probably best just to let it be, move on. Now, if a
Yeah.
few years from now the child is older, y'all connect and it works and they're still successfully co-parenting,
Hmm.
years under their belt to kind of like get in the groove of things, not just like, oh, it's been like maybe 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with Molly though. Like, you did what's best for you. You don't even need to go down that route. And I appreciated the friend moment where when she called Laura, it's like, okay, it happened so fast. Like Kelly said something about exes and Issa was on that phone and we heard it ring. It's like, girl, you didn't want to like take what she said for a second and think about it before you called this man.
Well, that was alcohol and whatever they were smoking.
I don't think it was. I think sober Issa would have done that just because of what was going on with her and Nathan. I don't think it was the smoking and the drinks. I think that.
I could appreciate too how Molly led with "Now, girl, I love you."
Yeah, I but
Just to like, hey, I love you.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you have to like step in for your friend in that moment, especially when they're hyped about something, it's like, hey, let me remind you that like I'm here for you. I'm in your corner before you try to read them and tell them what they need to be doing with their life.
Yeah. Speaking of Molly, so it seems like things haven't really progressed that far with Torian in the last week, but he's calling to check on her mom. I'm a fan of this couple. But yeah, he's calling to check on her mom. He's texting her late at night. But what do you feel about them? Like he hasn't pushed it forward and she hasn't. So now there's this whole, what should I do? Should I move things forward? Should I wait for him? How do you feel about that?
I still don't know that Torian is like interested in her in a romantic way. Uh, yeah, I could agree he's been nicer. He's been including her in certain things, calling her. Now, my gut reaction is I don't know if that's because he's like, hey, she's in a fragile state. I also went through something similar with a family member, so let me not be that rude coworker. Let me at least extend the olive branch because she's going through something. Or, you know, maybe I don't know. He's very competitive at work. I just don't know if it's genuine. Nothing I have seen so far is telling me that like he's legit and interested in her in a romantic way. And no, I don't think she should give him the green light.
Well, I'll be naive because I do think he's being genuine. I think she's seen his worst, right? And I think he's mature enough to handle something like he's not going to mess up his career,
Mm-hmm.
a relationship. She'd probably be more likely to do that than him. So I'm for it. I think she should give him the green light. I don't really know what that looks like. I I don't think she should be like, hey, I want to see you outside of work. I think just a more casual thing, like, hey, let's hang out or something like that. Just so he knows, hey, I too have interest in you. If you want to, make that next move, I'm 1,000% open to it.
So you think he's shown her that he's interested in her in a romantic way?
Yeah, this man said my mom had mugs. Come on. I feel like I I think it's worth finding out. I think they're in the discovery period, they're laughing, doing their little kiki and each other. And so I think it's worth exploring. I think it could definitely easily go down that route. And I would love it. I would.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a question for you though. It's about Issa. At the beginning we said, okay, we either want her to find somebody new or we want her to be by herself. How do you feel now with how things went with Nathan this episode? Are you still feeling that same way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, I understand they had the phone call. He said, I love you. It's just something about his energy that's just not quite sitting right with me. I don't think it's anything malicious. I think he's still trying to figure out his footing as well. Like, is LA the place for me? I have this whole other medical thing going on,
Mm-hmm.
the situation with the family. So I don't know. I could see Issa getting kind of caught in the middle of him just being indecisive about what he wants with life in general. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just didn't end up being together.
Okay. So last week I went pretty hard on Nathan, and when we shared this to YouTube, which shout out to the people on YouTube who have been watching our reviews. I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and subscribe also, but we appreciate you guys watching. But somebody, her name on social media or on YouTube was Von C, but she was like, maybe just consider that he had just had the blow up at the barber shop, and then they went into that conversation. So because of her comment, and it's still on the YouTube page, I think I need to give Nathan a little bit more grace. I think the reason why I feel that way about Nathan is, when like a cousin who you love brings a significant other and everybody just adores him. They're like, oh, he's that guy. And then they break up and she brings somebody else around and it's like, who is this man? Because I'm not checking for him. Like, oh, he gonna be in the family? All right. That's how I feel about Nathan. And so I think I think that's part of, in addition to like the things that he's done. But that's part of why I don't really mess with him like that. But I can't agree that I need to give him a little bit of grace.
Yeah. And I'd also say, too, even from Issa's side, I feel like anything that happens with him, or just how quick she was like, oh, well, I'm going to call Lawrence, that makes me question, like, are you really into him? Is this a rebound? I think it's on both sides where it's just like he's somewhat fickle and she's, so quick to be like, I'm going to go talk to a different guy because he hasn't reciprocated it. She didn't even give them a chance to like have a conversation about it before she's like on the phone with Lawrence or trying to. Yeah. So I just think on both sides, that's why I'm just like, I don't know that this is really it. And it isn't just on him, it's on her.
How did you feel about Tiffany being like, oh, I think it's clear how Nathan feels about you. How did you feel about that comment?
Oh, I think the moment I took it as like he's not saying I love you, but he's showing that, hey, I can be here for you. But now that you've reset it, I'm like, I don't know. Is there some sarcasm there?
I don't think there's any sarcasm there, but I feel like I just disagree with the statement. And I agreed with Issa on this. Little Miss Inconsistent Issa, I agreed with her when she said, I don't want to be in a relationship where now I have to guess how this person feels about me, or just kind of like believe, like you want to be in something where someone is expressive. And that was the problem that I had with him, with the I love you thing, but also the whole, oh yeah, I'm your boyfriend, like telling her mom that he's a boyfriend. Like, I just need you to use your words and clearly articulate like what you're feeling and what you want out of this.
But I will say, wasn't it the last episode or maybe the one before? No, it must have been episode 5 because it wasn't last week because I wasn't on. But we were saying that when I guess Issa's like beating around the bush, he is the one to kind of wheel them back in to try to move the conversation towards something productive and not just avoiding things. So he may not be the best communicator, but it's like both of them, they have similarities, but he at least would try. Like how he was like, hey, let's talk about it.
So. I said that about Issa, but I don't know. I'm going to have to watch it back. I think I said she's the one who's more direct. Or like
she got better. She's gotten better.
Yes, but they're both avoiding. But I will say praise for Nathan, because I think he definitely came around and just acknowledged, hey, I was being childish. I was avoiding. I need to be better about that. I wanted to hit you up yesterday. He was considerate. So I don't have beef with Nathan this episode at all. I do think he did the right thing if that was how he was feeling about her. You know, to just go ahead and express it and acknowledge his wrong. So I appreciate that about Nathan. But again, Lawrence is the guy who my cousin brought first, and we fell in love with him. So I don't know.
I wanted to ask you though, because he said, well, she said, you know, I apologize. I didn't want to pressure you to make you feel like you had to say it back. And so I get that she was like apologizing, like, hey, I don't want to pressure you. But obviously she felt some type of way. Now, what if the conversation would have been, hey, I don't love you in that way right now, but can you like let us get some time dating? You know, so even I could appreciate the conversation. But I don't know. I think I'm just one of those people where I'm like, okay, well, are you saying this because I posted first and you feel pressure now because you know I feel some type of way because she was acting all weird? I think so, but
yeah, the way he approached it, I don't think so, because he did take his time. He didn't like just say it back because she said it. He took his time. He thought about it. And then he decided to call her. You know, he wasn't impulsive about it. And I think that's the problem. Like, he maybe thought she was being impulsive, which probably. But but yeah, so I don't have any beef with Nathan this particular episode.
You gotta that asterisk this.
Right. I don't know what's gonna come. I mean, it looks from the previews, it looks promising. You know, he's like, well, I like waking up to you. I like bringing you coffee. I'm like, okay, Nathan, what you trying to do at the end of this season, huh? Yeah. But to the question I asked you earlier about, like, do I still feel the same about, oh, Issa should find somebody else or be alone? I don't. I feel like now that we've been exposed to all her imperfections in this relationship, it's not necessarily what I want. But if she ended up with Nathan, I think I would be most okay with her ending up with Nathan now. We still have 3 episodes left, so I don't know. But after this episode, I would be the most okay with her being with Nathan. I don't want to see her heartbroken in the next 3 episodes, and I feel like that's what's gonna, you know, that's what's gonna happen if Nathan doesn't work out. So yeah, I don't want any of this. I like the romance between Condola and Lawrence. I'm like, I appreciate.
Why not?
I wouldn't be upset. I feel the same way about Nathan. Nathan and Issa as I do about Lawrence and Condola. It's not what I would want out of a real life situation, but I do think it might be the best for them. And that's just real life. You know, it's not a fairy tale. Like, you don't always get the one who you thought you would end up with, the one who you spent 5 years in a relationship with. I think it's realistic, but
based off of Lawrence and Condola's interaction this previous episode, that actually does make me feel hopeful that if both of them are single,
yeah,
they were attracted to each other, they did have some certain things in common. I'd actually be 100% for them exploring the romantic side, and not just for the child's sake. I think just their family unit intact, like there's a certain love and beauty in that that I think could offset some of the like earlier drama and things that they were going through.
Yeah, and they've matured, so I wouldn't be mad at it. If you ask me, because I've seen all 5 seasons, of course, like Issa and Lawrence, they're the fairy tale, but like I said, it's real life. Well, it's not real life, but it's real life to the characters. Yeah, I don't know if there was anything else that I had. We talked about Tiffany and the smart choice. I liked how this episode centered a little bit on like different issues of motherhood. So like with Tiffany and Derek possibly moving away and her just being like, what if I get depressed? Like, what if this happens and we want to have more kids? How am I going to make it? So I think that's a very like real question that people probably ask themselves. And then Condola saying, I didn't think I was going to do this because things were so shaky between us. And, you know, I considered the other option. So I liked how they brought those perspectives to the light.
Mhm.
There, you know, that's real life.
Yeah, and definitely with Tiffany, I mean, that's so relatable, especially as you get older and you have your set group of friends if you're all living in the same place and you're like family. And
Yeah.
as a person who's had to move a couple times, it definitely can be hard to kind of like leave those friends and start new. And you'll always have those connections, but it's never the same as like being right there. So
Yeah, and I liked that Kelly, I guess, tried to make Issa feel better. Like, hey, don't think everything is perfect between them because they were at Simone's birthday party and it was not great, you know? So, yeah, I think it was a real friend move. But yeah, she really doesn't need to be, Issa doesn't need to be worried about Lawrence at this point. Like, she needs to pick a side. Are we going to be worried about Lawrence or are we going to move forward with Nathan? You can't have it both ways. So she needs to grow up with that.
she can't really, it's going to be hard for her to move forward with, I think, Nathan or anybody else if she keeps like picking at the scab. Like, girl, just let it heal. Like, stop bringing this back up.
Do not need closure. Y'all have had closure so many times. Like, let it, it's closed already. Like, let it be.
Let it be.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you watch this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For everybody else watching, we have a podcast and our latest episode is streaming now. So please check that out. And we'll see you guys next week for episode 8.
All right. Bye.